It was 11 years that I was a professional singer. The group performed with Elton John, with Sting, with Luther Vandross, with Janet. Janet Jackson was the person that discovered the group, actually. I find a lot of young creatives and artists, they want things to happen now. They want the opportunities to happen now. They want to be famous now. And that's just not the way it works. The industry is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. I did not get here on my own by any shape or form. And so at this point in my life, that's what it's about for me, doing the same thing for others that was done for me, and giving the next generation of creatives opportunities and opening doors and mentorship.
Hi everyone, it's Carl Veltman here, and welcome to the first episode of Season 3 of the Xpert Lounge. This podcast celebrates people who break boundaries, overcome challenges, and make a real impact in their fields. Today we're stepping into the world of music, culture, and creativity with someone whose journey spans from the US to the heart of Yorkshire. Aaron Casserly Stewart is an artist, producer, and cultural leader now helping shape the creative future of Halifax through his work at the Peace Hall. We'll be talking about his incredible journey from performing on international stages to empowering the next generation of artists and the lessons he's learned along the way. I'm thrilled to welcome Aaron to the Xpert Lounge sofa.
Thank you.
Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here, and I'm really excited. I know a little bit about your journey, so I'm really excited to for you to share that with us today. So, you've had a pretty varied career. I mentioned there that you've performed internationally with Sounds of Blackness.
Correct, yeah.
And you're now shaping that cultural scene at the Peace Hall. So what inspired that journey? I'm really interested how that you've navigated that journey. Yeah. And how did you find your way into the world of music and through it in the way that you did?
Sure. So my family was very musical on my father's side. His brothers and sisters, they had a group back during the 20s and 30s during vaudeville time called the Silver Voice Quartet.
Okay.
So music has always been a part of the family.
Yeah. Was that a vocal group?
It was a vocal group, yeah, it was a vocal group. So it was my father and his brothers and sisters that formed that group. And I still have their original poster that they put up, when they performed. I have it framed in my home, but it's quite special. So it's always been a part of the family, really. And then when I was in grade school, I had a teacher named Mrs. Lawrence that put me on the stage for the first time, gave me my first solo when I was probably 8 years old.
Can you remember what that was?
Oh gosh, I don't.
No.
Oof. That's bad.
I won't ask you to sing it.
I've blocked it out. I was traumatized, I think. But yeah, she put me on the stage for the very first time, and solo. It was like it's come back as a Christmas program that we did at the school. So that was my first time on a stage, first time singing solo, but she was also my music teacher and really was the formative person in developing my musicality. From there, I kind of caught the bug and continued to sing. When I left my hometown and moved to Minnesota to go to uni, I learned about jazz. I met a jazz pianist named George Maurer, and he taught me a song called My Funny Valentine. And when I heard that song and when we performed it together, I was hooked on jazz. So that's what I started to become, was a jazz vocalist only, and started gigging in Minneapolis on the weekends while I was going to school. And then a friend of mine named Cynthia Johnson, she is the lead vocalist for a group called Lips Inc. Their most known song probably is a song called Funky Town, if you remember that song. And she was the vocalist for that song. Funky Town is about Minneapolis. They were based in Minneapolis, and Prince was there, Sounds of Blackness, Janet Jackson spent a lot of time there, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Bob Dylan. So Minneapolis is very much a music hub. So she suggested that I try out for the Sounds of Blackness. I tried out. I didn't make it the first time that I auditioned. The director said you need to work on chromatics and harmonies, and gave me a list of things to work on. Mm-hmm. So I took a year. I hired a vocal coach, a singer named Anita Baker, her vocal coach. I hired her and worked on the things that he said over the year. Came back the following year, auditioned again, and he held out his hand and he said, "Welcome to the Sounds of Blackness." So that's how that began, singing with that group.
And I think that's really interesting, actually, that, it didn't just fall into place straight away.
No.
So you had to do a little bit of work to get...
Had to do some work, yeah, to get there. But when I did, it was just an incredible experience, because it wasn't just a singing group. It was Gary Hines, who's the director of the Sounds of Blackness. It was Black History lesson. He was a mentor. He was a father figure. The director of the group. But it was so much more than that. The group really became my second family. I just had so much enjoyment and fun with them.
And it sounds, when you talk about that, and you talk about the place and the people, I mean, it sounds really glamorous.
Yeah.
But I guess there was a lot of hard work involved in it too.
Definitely hard work.
And I think certainly with sort of music, TV, film, people see that very glamorous end result.
Yeah.
But there's a huge amount of graft.
A lot of graft. Gary is definitely a perfectionist, the director. And when you win 3 Grammys, there's a certain level of excellence that you have to maintain, and so he definitely, worked us very, very hard. But it was great fun though as well.
So just give me a snapshot. Where did you perform? How many years? What sort of audiences?
Yeah, so all over the States. And it was 11 years that I was a professional singer. The group performed with Elton John, with Sting, with Luther Vandross.
Any big names or just...
No big names. No. With Janet. Janet Jackson was the person that discovered the group, actually. And she suggested to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis that they sign the group to their label, which they did, and then they produced the first album, and then that's where the Grammys came from, was from that album.
So, I mean, what a phenomenal experience to have been part of that. Yeah. So you said you were with the group for 11 years?
Yeah,
so,
with singing professionally as a jazz singer and with the Sounds of Blackness. Yeah, the combination for 11 years of being a professional singer.
So then what happened?
Then I had an interest in learning about the business side of the music industry, artist development and that kind of thing. So I moved to LA, and took a job with Morris Hayes, who was Prince's music director and the band leader of a group called the New Power Generation. I was his PA. So worked with him on various projects out in Los Angeles, and he helped me develop the artist management side of things, and kind of took me under his wings, and became a huge mentor. And so I worked for him in LA, and then a childhood friend named Arthel McDaniels introduced me to a guy named Eric Bluetooth Griggs, who is a producer and instrumentalist, vocalist, and he introduced us. And Eric was my first client that I took on managing 11 years ago, and he and I are still working together. He is a part of Dr. Dre's Aftermath label as one of the producers, and has been with Dre the past 11 years. Prior to that, he worked with a producer named Babyface. But yeah, Eric's great. You've met him.
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
So Eric, you brought Eric over to deliver a project with young people in Halifax.
Yes.
Which, the track that they produced was superb.
Yeah.
And what a fantastic experience for our students. I'm interested then, you've got, you went to LA. Mm-hmm. Again, that sounds really glamorous.
Yeah.
You're in, what many people would think is the sort of hub of the music business.
Yeah.
What brought you to this northern town? What attracted you? What got you here? And how did your connection with the Peace Hall begin?
Sure. So while I was out in Los Angeles, I was actually in the studio with Morris at the time, and I got a call from my brother that my father had passed away, which was completely devastating to me because my family is very close. When I got that call, about a week later, I told Morris and the folks out in Los Angeles, thank you for the opportunity. But I have to go back home to Parsons, Kansas, which is where I'm from, a very small rural town in the middle of nowhere in southeast Kansas. So I went back home and spent time with my mother and my sisters who still lived in the town. My father, he worked for the quote-unquote city as the building inspector, so anything that was built had to have his sign off, so everyone knew my father and my family. I left Parsons when I was 17 and hadn't been back to live, over 30 plus years, so when I moved back, I ran for city commissioner and mayor in my father's honor, and surprisingly was elected. And spent 3 years living there and working as city commissioner and mayor. While I was out in Los Angeles, before I moved back home, Prince has had a series of personal DJs, as you do, that play at various parties and things. One of those DJs is a guy named Larry Bell. He was being interviewed by a gentleman that was attending Nottingham Trent University. They were having a video call interview. I happened to walk by while they were conducting the interview, and after the call, I asked Larry, who was that guy you were talking to? And he said, this guy named Peter Casserly. He's a student at Nottingham Trent University. He was interviewing me for a paper he was writing. And I said, okay. So I did a bit of research of my own and contacted Peter. Long story short, after my time in my hometown, Peter and I started dating, and he came over to the States. I came over here, so for about 3 years we did the long distance dating relationship thing. Every 3 months I'd come here.
That really is long distance, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd come here, he'd go there, and then 9 years ago we got married. So that's what brought me to.
And did you get married here or in the
We
US?
got married here. Yep, in Sheffield,
Yeah.
City Hall, and so that's what brought me to England. As far as the Peace Hall is concerned, I was at a conference in Leeds, attending a conference there for an organization called Come Play With Me, and Nikki Chance Thompson was speaking at this conference. I had never heard of the Peace Hall. I had never heard of Halifax. I didn't know, anything about this area. After I heard Nikki speak, she was just so inspiring to me, and I felt like I had known her all my life. It was just a very weird connection that I had with someone just listening to them speak. So after she finished, I made a beeline for her, and I said, I don't know who you are. I've never heard of the Peace Hall, but I need to work with you. And she she was kind of taken aback. And anyway, she brought me on after we met a couple of times, and she realized my background and what I was involved with. She brought me on as a consultant at first, so I did that, and then as a program manager, and now I'm the program and event director for the Peace Hall. So that's how that came to be.
Okay, wow. So
Chance.
yeah, I mean, of all the people that I've spoken to on the podcast, there are sort of routes that people have carved out into their careers, and sometimes, people have taken diversions, but yours really does sound like a story that is peppered with these little moments of opportunity that you've taken.
Yeah.
How has that happened? Why do you think that's happened to you, and how have you made the best of those opportunities?
I think I've always been a person that knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be involved in music from a very young age. And yeah, you're right. When the universe brings opportunities, when they're presented to me, rather than be afraid of that, I lean into it and recognize it as such, and try to pursue that.
So how much, that's really interesting actually, how much of your success has been, clearly you must have had a talent, but without the charisma, confidence, how far would that talent have gone? So how important has that sort of relationship building, communication, how important has that been?
The industry is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. I did not get here on my own by any shape or form. There were a lot of people in my life that introduced me to people, that opened doors for me, that mentored me, gave me advice, gave me opportunities. It did not happen just on my talent and me. That's not, I don't want you to think that at all, because that's not how it was. There were a lot of people that helped me along the way. I did not get here on my own in any way, shape, or form. And so at this point in my life, that's what it's about for me, doing the same thing for others that was done for me, and giving the next generation of creatives opportunities and opening doors and mentorship and those sorts of things. It's paying it forward, because that's what happened to me. And I feel it's my duty to do the same for other people.
And the Peace Hall it's become a major creative hub in Halifax. What makes it such a special place for young people and emerging artists?
I think just the building itself it's quite inspiring. When I'll never forget when I first arrived here and I saw it, I was just completely blown away that something like this existed, in Yorkshire. It looks like something that should be in Italy or it's the building itself. It's so inspiring, and I think because of the level of musicianship and the established artists that have come to the Peace Hall, it definitely makes it a place that people want to gravitate towards and be a part of. With the concert series during the summer. Last year we started the Peace Hall Academy, again, out of that ethos of helping the next generation of creatives. So it was Nikki's vision to create this academy and this place for young folks to learn about songwriting and music production, live events, and be an artist development where I work with young musicians like the Caymans and other musicians that are in the area. So I think because of the events, the combination of the events and the level of artists that come to the Peace Hall, it's a place where young musicians want to be a part of that.
Yeah, it is something truly special, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know that the Peace Hall has hosted major gigs, major events, and then, sort of smaller, more community-focused events. What's been your favourite moment at the Peace Hall so far?
Gosh.
If you had to pick one.
One. Can I pick two or three? No. One would probably be when Sting was there. He's been such a guru for me musically. And when he performed there, that was just incredible. And he was so gracious, and he allowed the students to work on his production crew and that kind of thing. That was incredible. The same with Nile Rodgers, has been absolutely incredible and supportive of students working with the crew. And then I think the third would have to be Grace Jones when she was there, and just the insanity that she brought to the day and the evening.
So, you've worked with some huge names, and that's continued in your time at the Peace Hall. You've sort of, brought all those connections in, and that means that we get a great summer program of events here in Halifax. What's the one lesson or piece of advice from those experiences that has really stuck with you?
I think it would have to go back to the relationship building that you mentioned, and just realizing that, again, this industry is all about relationships. And that's what I tell the young folks that I work with. You have to be respectful. You have to be kind. You have to be a person of integrity. Yes, you have to be talented, but you have to be a person of your word as well, because once you get to a certain level in the industry, it's small and everyone knows everyone. And the word gets out about a particular individual or whatever, or band or group. So you really have to be conscious of that. You have to know that not everything that glitters is gold. There are a lot of sharks swimming in these waters in the music industry, unfortunately, that will take advantage of emerging artists and promise things that are just not going to happen, or get them involved in a deal where they're the ones that make the majority of the money rather than the artist, those sorts of things. So I have long conversations with the artists that I work with about all of those things and contracts and the business side of things that a lot of artists don't want to focus on. They just want to focus on the music, and I get that, and the creativity and writing the songs and that kind of thing. But it is the music business, and you have to know that side of it and be savvy about that as well.
I mean, thinking about Halifax as a place, for a lot of young people, a lot of young creatives, that sort of career, that sort of life success can feel out of reach.
Yeah.
Especially in towns like this. So, thinking about, you talked about growing up in Kansas. What would you say to someone who's passionate about forging a career in the music industry but just doesn't know where to start?
Yeah, first of all, they need to realize that everything's possible. Anything's possible. And if you believe in yourself and that's what you want to do, then, go for it 100%. It is possible, and it is within reach. I think that the place to start is just doing your homework and researching about the industry. There's a lot to it, a lot to it. And I didn't even know, to be fair, when I was an artist, all the business side of things, I was very naive to all of that. It was just about singing for me, and that's what I enjoyed, and that's what I focused on. So I get that that's what most people, the emerging artists and young artists do. I did the exact same thing. But there's a lot to this, and there are organizations, like PPL and PRS and Launchpad and the West Yorkshire Music Network and Come Play With Me and the Peace Hall, and there are lots of music organizations that work with emerging artists and young artists, and so it's seeking those organizations out and just doing your homework and building those relationships and those connections with people, in the industry.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite easy when you see artists that have made a name for themselves.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to think, that's the person.
Yeah.
But actually they've all come from a starting point that was probably nowhere near, the life that they're living now. So, I think it's always inspiring for young people to hear artists' journeys and understand that actually they may not be that dissimilar to their own.
Yeah. It's a lot of it is going to gigs, putting yourself in the situation where you're going to see live music, whether that be at a local level or an arena level, and just kind of observing how it all works and that kind of thing. But, there's always the colleges and universities, obviously, that have music departments and, approaching it that way. So there's different ways to approach it. I didn't study music. I didn't major in music at all. So it was just a passion of mine and something that I enjoyed doing. I was a peace studies major, which had nothing to do with music, but it was, a passion. So I think it's just putting yourself in where music is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that exposure, isn't it?
Yeah.
To it. So the Peace Hall Academy, that's all about developing future talent. What kind of opportunities are there for young people to get involved in, and what do you look for in new talent?
So there's songwriting, music production, and engineering is one strand. Live events, working with the production crew or working with the events that we do at the Peace Hall, the Christmas markets, that kind of thing, the bandstand that we have there, and the music side of things. That's one strand, live events, working with established artists when they come during the live series in the summer with their production crews. And then there's artist development is another strand. So if you're an artist or a band, working with myself and others on a mentorship management type of relationship. And then the fourth strand that we just started is music theater. We've partnered with some producers down at the West End to provide music theater residencies in Halifax. So those are the four different strands of the academy that folks can be involved with.
So there's quite a lot there. What are you looking for in individuals?
What I'm looking for, I think, is one, humility. I don't do egos well at all. Actually, above Dre's studio, right before you walk in, there's a sign that says, "Leave your ego at the door." The people that are successful in their craft, they don't need to puff themselves up to let that be known. You just let your talent speak for itself. You don't have to do anything extra to make it be known. And so that's the first thing that I look for, people that are just passionate and interested in music, that don't have this, grandiose ego, that are young folks of integrity, talented, obviously, yes, commitment, and just that same drive and passion, to succeed, I think, are the things that I look for.
Now, I know that you've spoken a lot about diversity and inclusion in the arts.
Yeah.
So why do you think it's important for young people to see representation, both on stage but also behind the scenes?
Yeah, it's important because if you see yourself, then something clicks that I can become that. There aren't a lot of women or young girls on the production side of things, behind the scenes, running things, and so that's important to see. And I've consciously made a decision of trying to get more young women involved in production, more people of color. Again, the larger events, the established artists. Most of the time their production crew or their managers or their team is white. And so just again, if that representation is there, then people of color realize, I can be Sting's manager, I can be, whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's important to see ourselves in those roles. And again, that's a conscious decision that I've made. Diversity in regards to genres of music also is important. It's not just indie music that is the thing. There's jazz, there's house, there's R&B, there's country, there's folk, there's classical. And again, just being exposed to the diversity of music that's out there, particularly for younger artists, that's something that may click if they are exposed to another style or genre of music. So that's something that's important as well. I think or even someone that's disabled. That's important to have representation there, and I try to accommodate that in the selection process as well. Again, if you can see yourself, you know that you can be that.
Yeah. I mean, you've talked about Sting. I know from the program of events last year, the names that the Peace Hall's attracting. It can look like these are big glamorous events, but there's always a lot happening behind the scenes. So, I'm wanting to take a step backstage with you. Is there anything that we might find surprising that goes on behind the scenes, or a particular story that you might be able to tell us that we might find interesting?
Other than us scrambling around like mice, what the audience experience and what's going on behind the curtain are two completely different experiences. As the event director, I have to coordinate and make everything with the entire day. So it's a lot of logistics and scheduling, and when the band arrives and who greets them, and all of that, and security and the catering and the riders, the items that they request prior to arriving that they want in their dressing rooms. And there's the event control area with all the CCTV cameras, and there's just a lot of different pieces that are going on. The queue busters, the volunteers.
Without breaking any confidences,
no, go
what's
ahead.
the most bizarre request for a dressing room item that you've had?
So last minute, we had to find an oyster shucker, someone that could shuck oysters to feed to a particular artist, because they wanted an oyster shucker. So we had to find someone in the area that could do that and bring them in for, I think it was about 30 minutes of their day, to shuck oysters for this particular artist and feed them to them.
Don't mention any names, but you can tell me.
I'll tell you after this. Yeah.
You've mentioned a lot of production roles there, and I think it's really important to really shine a light on those. So when you're talking about live sound, the rigging, the staging, the lighting, hugely important. And actually, a lot of the productions that we see, it's those production elements that really sort of bring the performer to life and create the spectacle that the audience see. And you've seen that from both sides, so as a performer, but also now as a producer and producing others.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest skills and mindsets that young people need to succeed in today's creative world? Yes, there are still live events. Yes, people are still producing music and creativity, but the genres and the way that that's produced now are changing. We've got a lot of, the digital age and the way that things are
and
streamed
AI
and shared. So what are the biggest skills and mindsets that young creatives need to succeed?
That's a really good question. I think patience is one. I find a lot of young creatives and artists, they want things to happen now. They want the opportunities to happen now. They want to be famous now. And that's just not the way it works. There's a very famous music exec back in the States named Clive Davis, and he has a quote that says, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. And patience, I think, is really important, particularly for young folks, because they just are so eager to, when they see people on YouTube or Instagram or whatever becoming, getting all these followers and becoming quote unquote famous, they think that it's, easy that way, and it's just not. So that would be the first thing, I think.
And that's one of the downsides, I guess, of social media, and the fact that, people want that instant gratification, don't they?
They do. And I constantly have to say to the young artists that I work with, just trust the process. You have to trust the process. Know that people are working behind the scenes in your favor and having conversations and, that you're not able to have, and just trust that, Attention to detail is really important, particularly in the production side of things. That's a very important skill set to have. Listening skills is important as well, because you're given a directive and you have to carry that, out. And if you mess up and the light doesn't come on the artist at that particular time, that's not going to be a good look. So listening skills is really important. And again, just that interpersonal relationships and being able to relate and speak to people, communication skills is really important. Those would be the main things, I think.
I mean, we've worked together previously with the college and the Peace Hall, partnering to bring Eric over. It's a really exciting time, I think. And you'll know this from previous experiences, but every so often a group of like-minded individuals, organisations come together, partner together, and what that produces can be incredibly exciting. So when you look at the next generation of creatives, artists, musicians that are coming through, what excites you most about that happening here in Halifax and in West Yorkshire?
I think when I see programs like Production Park is doing, and the Peace Hall and Calderdale College and Tracy Braben, who's such an advocate for creatives, the organizations in Leeds, that I mentioned, like Launchpad and other organizations like that. When I was coming up, those types of programs and organizations didn't exist. So to have all of those different places where people can go and learn about the music industry is really special, and something that definitely, I think, at times is taken for granted, because that just doesn't normally, that special, these different programs, and because I didn't have that. I had to just find my way through it with the help, as I mentioned, with other folks that knew more than I did. But there wasn't a Peace Hall Academy. There wasn't a Production Park. There wasn't a Calderdale College that has this amazing, room and programming that you have. So there wasn't a mayor that was behind the arts. So it's really special that all of that exists, and I just encourage people that are interested in music or the arts to take advantage of that, or Calderdale Music, another great organization here in Halifax.
I think in partnering and working together, there's a real opportunity for us to exploit all the opportunities, whether that's funding, whether that's fantastic spaces, whether that's exposure to industry professionals, and really put something special together for young people and emerging artists. That's the really exciting bit, isn't it?
It is, and again, that is my legacy. That is my sole purpose for the remainder of my time here on planet Earth. I'm 60 now, so I have another 20 years maybe. During that time, that short amount of time that I have left, it's about the next generation of creatives and giving back for sure.
Well, I'm hugely excited to see what comes of that time, and I know that the work that we've done with you and the Peace Hall is only going to get better.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I do at the end of every podcast, I do ask my guests the same question. I was actually going to ask you to sing a few bars.
No.
But I won't do that. And then I thought we could duet.
We could.
I thought no one's going to want to hear that. So the question I ask is, you've talked about 20 years ahead. What I want you to do is think back. If you could go back and send your teenage self a text with a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, what would it say?
Gosh. It would say, stand in your power. Just stand in your power. There were a lot of times I didn't know that I even had power. And the times when I did, I took that for granted, and I veered off on lots of other, paths, and listened to the negativity in my head that beat down my confidence and just who I was as an individual and a person, and didn't, obviously didn't realize all of these amazing things would be happening. And I was fearful, and I was scared, and I was depressed, and I was suicidal, and I was, all of these negative things because of the pressures of becoming successful. So that's what I would, text, is just stand in your power.
Well, fantastic piece of advice, particularly to young people that are about to navigate their future and find their way. I'm sure hearing your journey will have inspired a lot of people, and I'm excited for the future and the number of young people that we can inspire together.
Yeah, I'm excited as well, and thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Cheers.